Phantom Tax, Skibbity, Ohio.
What?
So the thing about memetic language is
Aura.
That's why they're saying Epstein has aura.
not only does it tell us who we are,
Neurospicy.
Trad wife influencers.
NPCs who you can abuse and murder.
it also tells us who we're becoming.
You're all probably thinking, what is a performative male?
Main character syndrome.
How to glow up.
AI Slop.
Watch out for red flags.
Normalization of situationships.
The science of gooning.
Low standards and chuggy fits.
Anyone remember the rise of Sigma males?
Ben would have been a fucking great femboy, dude.
I'm manifesting.
Pretty fun. For Brainrot.
What is this term you use, Brainrot?
Yo, Chad, why this game so fun, Chad?
Memetic language, neologisms, Gen Z slang, whatever you want to call it, all reveal the ways in which that society, culture, we are transforming. And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today in a certified Gen Z way. The tier list. Slight problem though, am I even qualified to be reviewing Gen Z slang in the first place? Because according to scientists, Gen Z begins in 1997, but then according to some other scientists, Gen Z begins in 1996, and then according to some other scientists, Gen Z begins in 1995, and depending on when that cutoff is, I'm either a millennial or Gen Z. I'm either an unk or a cousin? I'll leave it for you to decide, but what's more important on this episode of On the Spectrum is figuring out whether society and culture are in a good place or whether we're on the brink of... And we're gonna find out right now, together, starting with... First word... This isn't going to pick it up from where you are, it's brain rot. To brain rot is both a verb and a noun, because one can brain rot. I am brain rotting, for instance. Essentially, you just like watching so much content that's not remotely nutritious, and you know it's not, and yet you continue to watch it anyway. Or maybe it starts off nutritious, but then you watch so much of it, it kind of just ruins your brain. Like, you can feel yourself getting brain damage the more and more you watch it. What's interesting about the term brain rot, maybe, when I was doing my master's degree, I came across a very similar term. The academic version of brain rot, so to speak, or the coined academic term that I came across at least, was a term called infoglut, which I presume is meant to be, you know, a portmanteau of the words information and gluttony. Infoglut, you know, which is to say that like you just consume and consume and consume. I swear I came across a video fairly recently talking about how like Gen Z are rediscovering hobbies or whatever, because like ostensibly, other than, I don't know, either going to school and going to work, motherfuckers don't have hobbies. They just like come home and scroll. They come home and brain rot. Sad. As a word to describe the phenomenon, to describe what it is, what it feels like. Brain rot is so like, you could, if nobody has heard the word brain rot before, you say it to them and they probably instantly have an idea. So in that sense, I feel like brain rot is an A-tier word as a description, but as a phenomenon, how am I rating this actually? Is it based on how much I like the term, or is it based on how well the term captures? I think I'm going to go on how much I like the term. I think I like the term brain rot. I don't like what it's doing to society phenomenologically, experientially, but as a term, I think it's fun. Moving on. Slop. We kind of spoke about that a second ago. Slop is the name given to content that isn't necessarily nutritious. If you were in line to get food at like a school or prison, somebody got a ladle and just put some slop on your plate, that is what it is. It's technically food, it's technically got something inside of it that would be good for you, but in terms of like, is it really though? And that's kind of what content is. It's just like somebody cooked it up, you know? There's AI slop now. It's just getting worse. Before the end of the century, we're going to be looking like the people from WALL-E, you know, just like all the dopamine frying the brain cells. Who's the geezer? I cited this in a previous video about busying themselves with the population and eating cake or something. I can't remember the guy, but I'll edit it in. That's basically the direction that we're going. We're consuming slop. Mentally, it's turning our brain into slop. I'm gonna give slop C tier. It is a good descriptor, but phenomenologically, as a cultural revolution or devolution, I think it's regressing society, and that is why slop is getting C tier. Mid, oh my god, okay. Instant E tier for me. I fucking hate mid. I think maybe I mentioned this in like a bit of writing that I did before, which maybe at this point might be on Substack. Fucking hate mid. Everything that is like less than stellar or excellent these days has become mid, and I fucking hate it. Mid is short for middle, although again, people just use it for like to mean that it's bad or like, again, less than fucking excellent. The thing that I hate about mid so much is that generally speaking, it's said by people that don't actually make anything. And so there's this kind of like, somebody put in a quote from like Ratatouille to like one of my videos most recently talking about like, you know, how critics get the benefit of kind of the prestige, but they don't necessarily actually have to make anything. They just kind of piggyback off of other people, you know, by talking about stuff. And that's how I feel about people using the word mid, because it's like, dude, you don't fucking make anything. How fucking dare you say that somebody else's hard work is just... Some things definitely are mid, but the thing that would actually constitute as being mid would be like a 5 or 6 out of 10. But again, people just use it for like everything. Oh, she's mid, bro. Nah, bro, she's mid. Shut the fuck up. Everything is mid now, and it's sad. Nobody, you know... The sublime is dead.
Being alive is sublime. Seeing birds is sublime. Seeing people walking around is sublime. Seeing the sky is sublime.
Is it mid, or have you just fried your fucking dopamine receptors so much that nothing touches the sides of it, nothing does anything for you anymore? Things that were, let's say, in hindsight, mid, were kind of really fun back in the day. Sonic Heroes apparently was a bad game. I enjoyed playing it for all the time that I did. All the Sonic games. If there's one thing you can guarantee from a Layton Observes video, it's me making an unnecessary Sonic the Hedgehog reference, or talking about Tyler the Creator for no reason, or just going on these weird fucking tangents. Mid, despite it pertaining to being about the middle, i.e. what would be, in this video, C tier, mid is getting a fucking E tier. It should be banished from society. Green flag, red flag. I think what's interesting about these kind of razors or like heuristics, I don't know if this will come up later on, but like a lot of these things pertain to like dating, and obviously that's because of dating discourse that's kind of downstream of, you know, dating apps and blah blah, and I've spoken about that before. But I think people are so kind of aware of anxiety, their own anxiety these days, so to speak. Risk aversion, being so risk averse that they're almost having these kind of like razors to be like, well, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is bad, this is bad. And it's like this kind of simplified categorization. What about just like staring into each other's eyes and like... really taking in each other's souls, man? Is this kind of like that what I was being silly about just a second ago, although low-key kind of real? That's like a qualitative assessment of somebody. It's kind of like, you know, this ethereal, you can't just necessarily put it into this like quantitative, this good, this good, this bad, this bad. Like obviously there's something to be said about like discerning somebody's good qualities versus their bad qualities, but this kind of like, there's a kind of person, say, that like goes on dates and then perhaps honestly may even enjoy talking about the date more than the date itself, almost as though they have like a post-date interview process, and they have, you know, they're with their friend and they're like, okay, so green flags, oh, that's a bit of a red flag, amber, I don't know. It seems to me, is it discernment or is it your anxiety? Green flag, red flag. You know, if I really wanted to get on my activist shit and whatnot, I'd be like, oh, it's actually kind of dehumanizing when you think about it, but I'm not going to do that because I find activists annoying. Without any more elaboration, green flag, red flag, that paradigm, D tier. Glaze. Glaze to me is almost like the opposite feeling of mid. So people use mid to describe something that's like 7 or below, you know, it's less than stellar, whereas glaze is this kind of like weird flip on its head where if somebody professes or confesses or merely mentions that they enjoyed something, there's another kind of person that would be like, oh, he's glazing it, bro. Glazing, I've not looked into this, but I would suspect that glazing means, or is the visual that it's supposed to connote, is that like, okay, so when you ejaculate, if you were to ejaculate on something, I guess visually it would kind of look like when you put like a icing glaze on a cake. I feel like I'm fumbling the description of this. I'm like losing Gen Z status as I'm speaking about this. There's a visual component to it, I'm sure. I just can't put it into words in this moment in time. But yeah, to glaze something is to kind of like gas something up, which is, I guess, another term. To hype something up in such a way that it's not necessarily deserving of, let's say, oh, you enjoyed the new Marvel film, you're glazing, for instance. That thing that you actually like it too much. Because I have the objective opinion on what is good or isn't good, you're actually glazing. I think it kind of speaks to a kind of like irony poisoned population. You know, you can't just enjoy things. Who is it that speaks about this? Like David Foster Wallace, you know, regarding like postmodernism and things of that nature. You can't just like enjoy things anymore. Everything is mockable, everything is a joke, nothing is awe-inducing or sublime anymore. Everything that is less than stellar is mid. Anything that you're actually excited about, you're glazing. is this very weird place to be in, you know? Glazing, I think glazing is a funny term. I think it's funny to say in conversation as a joke. So based on that merely, I would give it B tier, though what I think it like represents about society and where we're going, I'm gonna give it a D tier. I don't think I like the word glazing. I have not glazed the word glazing. We can determine that. Main character. This is an interesting one. I think primarily because with the influx and the advent of social media, the line between what is real life and not real life, fiction and non-fiction, the digital world and the real world is kind of blurring in such a way that like people are like conceptualizing them in a more fictionalized way, i.e. why they're borrowing language from fictional realms, i.e. character, and kind of superimposing it onto themselves, because when they refer to themselves as a main character, what does a main character do? A main character takes up space. A main character goes on a journey. They're the leader of their own story. And usually when people talk about main characters, it's to embody those kinds of ideals, you know, being their primary focus. I think people should, generally speaking, feel like the main character of their own lives, although I feel like sometimes there's a diminishing returns aspect where it's actually, there may actually be like a pervasive underlying narcissism, maybe of like, I can do whatever I want, I'm the main character, I'm doing it for the plot, which is another term that might be in here. I'm doing it for the plot because I'm the main character. It's like, are you the main character or are you just egocentric? Good faith, I feel like I've expressed a duality in there. Main character, I think it's funny, but also I do think it speaks to a culture that like is cannibalizing itself almost, like that it's eating itself. Like, you are not a fictitious person, you're a real person, you know? I think it's good to try and live a more adventurous life and to be more confident in general and be a bit more daring. Live your life like it's a movie. But again, I think it speaks to a culture that's having a harder and harder time discerning real life from online. And maybe that's valid because by many people's instances, they're online more than they're in real life. You know, maybe you do your real life, which is your job, and then you return and then you just consume and consume and consume a bunch of like digital stuff. And that becomes your real life, you know? So, main character, C tier. Oh my god. This one I'm going to keep brief because I've spoken to death about it. Red pilled, this is definitely a subcultural one. Red pill is derivative of the Matrix, so you're going to take the red pill or the blue pill, and the red pill is emblematic of seeing the truth or whatever. And if you really wanted to take it even further back, you could like draw parallels to the allegory of Plato's cave, for instance, you know, seeing the truth. The issue with red pill that I have, particularly given its usage online, is that it's being co-opted by like, you know, the manosphere group, let's say, which have like beliefs about men and women that I have, you know, I've had a critical eye about it and I've made videos about it in the past and stuff. These are the people that, you know, women should just shut the fuck up and be submissive. All they should really do is look pretty. Women live life on easy mode, and life as a man is so hard because you have to do X, Y, and Z, and unless you have high sexual market value, which is a stupid fucking term, which they're talking about, like, in order to even be a pick for a woman, you have to be a certain level of status and a certain level of looks and a certain level of money. And it's like, are you guys living actual relationships, or do you just see everything as transactional? Like,
if a man wants sex, that's one of the few things that men ask for. You know what I'm saying? And if you guys don't deliver on that, you're useless. I'll just be honest.
There is a void that is needing to be filled, and these fucking online goobers are filling it. What color is your Bugatti? Sir, you are a sex trafficker. Shut the fuck up. Red pill is obviously E tier, both as what they prescribe it to mean and then also what it's doing to society. Fucking hate it. Femboy. Okay, femboy's a bit of a tricky one to describe. I feel like I need to lay out the whole like theory of gender entirely just to adequately describe what it even means. So you have a cis person, which is their sex and their self-described gender aligns. This is a male that identifies as a man, that's a female that identifies as a woman. Then you have a trans woman, which is a male that identifies as a woman and plays the social role, so to speak, of what that would mean. And then obviously you have the vice versa of a trans man, which is a female that identifies more so with male or masculine characteristics and therefore plays the role of what that means. So one may think of or see a supposed femboy and be like, oh, that's a trans woman. And it's like, actually, that is a male that still identifies as a boy or man, but just enjoys being feminine in that regard, which is why, I don't know, you'll see them in like high socks and skirts or whatever. I feel like femboy is a particularly internet-y identity. I don't know if people in real life are, I don't know, I guess it's feminine boy, but not necessarily going as far as to identify as being a woman, I guess. This is instinctual. I don't really have anything else to add to that, I guess. It does what it says on the tin. Beta. Situationship. Eater. A situationship is when you're not quite just dating, you're not quite in a relationship, you're in this limbo period, you're in this, what are we? And situationships can be as short as a day, theoretically, I would imagine, and as long as forever, I suppose. No more elaboration for that word. Eater. Neurospicy, that took me a second to read my own handwriting there. Neurospicy is like the quirky way of saying, I'm probably autistic. Is the way of saying that you're neurodivergent or like on that borderline cusp. Or I think sometimes people use it in such a way that, like, in the event that they haven't been diagnosed formally, they'll say, oh, I'm probably like, you know, neurospicy or whatever. I suspect that I am neurospicy. Oh, everyone thinks they're autistic these days. Everybody thinks that they're on the... I'm one of the real one. Everybody else is lying except me. I think more and more I'm like, coming to terms with it being the truth or whatever. Also, I came to the realization that like almost all of my favorite people are in some way like got some neurodivergency about them. So now I'm like a neurodivergent supremacist. Like all y'all normal niggas, don't fuck with them. Only fuck with the people with autism and ADHD, and I'm feeling an instinctual beat here. I quite like the term neurospicy. It's funny. I think it's a bit funny. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek way to describe something that's actually could be kind of serious. And I enjoy, as an enjoyer of lightheartedness, that tickles me. Beat here. Hawk Tuah. My understanding of this is that there was a clip and something, I don't even remember what the question is, but it's like, oh, you just got a Hawk Tuah on that thing. That, I think, is the lowest point of my entire life, saying that out loud. I'm so upset with myself. To spit on a dick and I guess suck it or whatever. Maybe the question is like, oh, how do you make a man feel good? And she's like, you just got a Hawk Tuah on that. No, that's not a good southern accent. I could do better. No, I can't do it.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that Hawk Tuah and spit on that thing. You get me?
I don't get you. I think you gotta demonstrate.
Hawk Tuah, spit on it. Spit on it.
She was dubbed the Hawk Tuah woman, the Hawk Tuah lady. Before you know it, she had a fucking podcast from a viral clip. I've been doing this for many a years. Nobody's approached me for a podcast yet, which is sad because I really want to start one. I don't even mean that ironically. I'm being dead serious. If you want to fund me making a podcast, I will jerk you off. My most recent understanding of what happened with the Hawk Tuah girl is that she supposedly like created a meme coin and then like profited millions off of it, and then everybody lost a bunch of money. And generally speaking, I feel like I'm a fairly I veer more on the side of altruism than I do misanthropy. Generally speaking, I'm pro good things, anti-bad things, and you know, people being swindled out of money is a bad thing or whatever. But at this point in time, what the fuck did you expect? You thought you were gonna come out of this profitably? You clown. How sorry can you feel for somebody that voluntarily puts their hand in fire? You know, did you think it was gonna end well? Hawk Tuah. The whole era, the word, the everything, eater, aura, and then by extension, aura farming. So aura, as far as I'm aware, is like the new and hip way of saying what is essentially like, this person is cool, this person has aura, for instance. Aura is kind of like, I don't know, it's a presence, it's the way that they make other people feel, potentially. I don't know, he walked in the room and the aura changed or whatever. It's a little bit metaphysical, actually, when you think about the metaphysical origins of the word aura. It's slightly woo-woo when you think about it. By extension, aura farming. Aura farming is like when somebody goes out of their way to appear as cool as they can. Although generally speaking, the way that they do it is so kind of like silly or like audacious relative to the context, the like other context that they're in. Generally speaking, I see people refer to like aura farming regarding like anime characters or like otherwise like fictional characters, and it's when they're like, again, deliberately going out of their way to seem cool and nonchalant and, I don't know, maybe a bit of a sigma male. Top aura farmers: Shadow the Hedgehog, specifically, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Oh, I've made another fucking Sonic reference. Oh my god. I'm not beating the autism allegations, I'm really not. Piccolo, aura farmer. Aura, I think is funny. That's beta. Aura farming, I think, is kind of hilarious. The way that people make memes of it, online at least. That's A tier.
What's he doing?
He's displaying a technique called aura farming.
Get the fuck down, bro. The hoes ain't watching.
Sigma male. This is definitely a subcultural one, again, emanating from manosphere territory. Sigma male is like, if you've got alpha male and they're like at the top of the pecking order, the top of the pack or whatever, sigma males are people that are supposedly self-removed from all notions of hierarchy, because they're just like these lone wolves, man. They just do things on their own terms and live on their own terms. Man, the thing about these professed sigma males, are you a sigma male or are you just traumatized? Is it that you prefer alone time and just want to be by yourself all the time or whatever, or have you got in some ways trust issues from a past relationship, an attachment wound emanating from a relationship with a parent of yours? Nobody can be trusted, man. That's why you just gotta rely on yourself. I hope you heal. And I know I said that kind of sternly, but I genuinely mean that sincerely. If you're like watching Sigma male edits and you self-identify as a Sigma male, I hope you come to learn that it's okay to ask for help and to rely on people and to be relied upon, to not see other people as a burden, to not be annoyed by other people's needs, to not be annoyed by your own needs, and to even see them as needs in the first place. You know, you don't have to do everything by yourself. Sigma male, E tier, evolving beyond a self-diagnosed Sigma male, that may just be A tier. That may be just what you need, baby boy. What a journey we've been on, folks. We're on the second to last one. NPC. The thing about NPCs is everybody is an NPC to somebody else. Every stranger that you pass on the street ostensibly is just another NPC. NPC stands for non-playable character. This again is derivative of the fictional world, although in this instance it's derivative of video games specifically. An NPC is a character that you do not play as. Think about Grand Theft Auto or Skyrim or any Zelda game. You'll play as Link, everybody else will be an NPC. NPC is used somewhat derogatively to describe somebody that, like, they're not like an ensouled character, like they're just like window dressing or whatever, like they're not a real person. Then the thing is, it's a tricky one, because there's definitely a sliding scale for how interesting people are. Some people, like, I don't know, you knock on their head and you just hear the echo coming from inside of it, you know. Some people are genuinely, maybe don't have that much going on in the way of like their life or like their thoughts or what they think about or whatever, but then I don't know, I feel like that's kind of like a bad faith way of thinking about other people, because like to another person you're an NPC. I feel like the way that it's used online I kind of take umbrage with, because it's to kind of like, I'm so unique and special, these people over here are NPCs, they don't have real thoughts, they don't really have a soul in the way that I do, they're not conscious. That's probably the best way of putting it, actually. They're not as conscious as I am, or they're not conscious at all even, perhaps. NPC, I think it's a funny origin. I feel like it's kind of overused, and not merely from a frequency perspective, but just like the way that it's used. It's like they're not an NPC, they just think differently to you. They're not an NPC, they just listen to fucking Taylor Swift from time to time. They're not an NPC, they just like enjoy something that's somewhat mainstream. Sorry, their beliefs and thoughts and the things that they're interested in aren't as like deep and esoteric and out there as like, it's fine. We're all just people, man. At the end of the day, we're all just like different versions of the same person. What's that, like egg theory and that? We're all just the same person. Anyway, whatever.
That's better. Now scurry off, my little gutter snipes.
It's gorillas.
I forgot to rank this one. D tier.
This is probably quite timely. My battery is getting low, and just like that, I have one to go. Oh, that rhymed. Isn't that fun? My battery's getting low, and we've got one to go. Oh, that does remind me, though. I should probably mention, before I get to this final word, please, as I said, I was going to say two different things at once. Sign up to the Patreon if you would like to. Here are the people that have already done so, and therefore that's why their names are being immortalized in this video, baby boy. Bit of a different style of video. It was a bit light-hearted. Wasn't scripted apart from, you know, the beginning parts that you saw, and the rest were just off the cuff. Hopefully this was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to make, at least. This was a fun way to spend some time. So I hope you enjoyed spending some time with me in this unscripted capacity. Another rhyme for you. Wow. Let's just close out with the final word, which off the top of my head, I don't think I can deduce what that must be based on the ones that we've already gone through. But I guess we're about to find out, because the final word is... Oh my fucking god. I felt like a physiological pain in my body. The final word is goon. Goon to some people means like you know, somebody's henchman, somebody's just kind of like a criminal. That is like a criminal that's like in a gang, whereas now goon is a verb. I'm gonna butcher this explanation because I think it has a more specific meaning, but I know that it involves masturbation and probably pornography use. I know that edging is edging is like jerking yourself off in such a way that you like get close to climaxing and then you don't, so that you continue jerking off. Oh, it's getting close, and then stop. Oh, and then getting close, and then stop, and then whatever. Whereas gooning, I think that maybe speaks to like the way that you do it, involving like what?
I recognize him. He was gooning for the Riddler just a few months ago. Guess he's gooning for the Joker now.
Batman! Stop saying gooning! Just say henchman. I know that's what you mean. Gooning has an entirely different meaning now.
You can goon as a verb. If you do goon, you are a gooner. And then the other version of it is gooning. Maybe I'll leave that to the chat. I don't know the specifics of it, and I also don't want that to be my fucking Google history. Oh, you can just use incognito. I was just doing it for the joke. I know I can look it up, but I'm not going to. I know it pertains to masturbation in some way.
Uh-oh, you've caught me gooning? Think again. I'm actually shuffling a deck of cards.
Insofar that you can help it, stop frying your brain with super stimuli like ography. Maybe I should have put like semen retention and stuff like that in here. That's like another subcultural thing. You need to retain your seed as a masculine man. What else should I do a on the spectrum video on? Pin comment, like, share. Hope you enjoyed. Comment for the algorithm. I love you. And that is everything that needs to be said. And so, as always, thanks for hanging out with... Why have I got my hand? Zesty could have been in this pile, and I would have been an example of that. Thanks for hanging out with me. I had fun hanging out with you. Parasocial Relationship Game 100.
Layton of Zabus.